So let's say, after 25 years, my father finally stops acting like a child, actually starts trying to clean up his messes. He actually does right by his second wife, who's probably waiting to come out of hell because he said, as soon as the pain stops, I've already got forgiveness for the both of them, but as long as my father's running away, my mother died while lying, as long as that's going on, if I have to die for their actions, yeah, I'll let God handle that. And seeing as they didn't want my forgiveness, they didn't want God's forgiveness, they didn't want my open arms, they didn't want to handle what they were doing to me. They continued to poison me, they continued to drug me, they treated me like a serial killer. I was on more meds than the guy in across the hall, well, next room over, right next, the next room to the right. He was, I don't know, 12 years, no, older than that. Between 12 and 15, somewhere around that range. And you know what he was in Lowell Treatment Center for? He was a schizophrenic that hit, well, actually, no, it wasn't schizophrenic. He was up and down. Bipolar. He was a bipolar that hit his grandmother with a hammer in the head over and over, and right in the face. And who do you think is more on more drugs, getting more sedated, being more medicated? The kid who's bipolar that broke his grandmother's face with a hammer, or the kid that did the scientific method and held one match to slug slime and couldn't even figure out how to light the matches. All those years, I know how to do it, but I'm still having trouble. I get nothing, nothing. I figured out it's about just the way you tip the match. You got to tilt the match upwards, but obviously, I didn't know this till about 16, maybe 18. What did I do with that match? Did I light down the house? Did I blow up a gas station? Did I burn down a construction site? No, I wanted to do the scientific method, so I went outside to a safe area where there was a giant rock. There was a slug with slime behind it. I took the match, when I finally, after a couple of tries, got lit. I brought it near the slime. The slime didn't seem to be quite fireproof. I brought it near the slug. It seemed to get dry. So then I realized there was no hope of making a fireproof jacket out of slugs or slug slime. There's no way to make a fire extinguisher. It's not that fire putting out. Why did I think that this would be great? Because I heard that the Romans thought that slugs were born out of fireplaces, out of the campfires. And if they can crawl on hot burning coals in the middle of a fire, they must be fireproof. No, apparently the babies get born out of the ashes or something like that. But I couldn't find the video again to show my parents or anything, but it didn't matter. They wanted to go on a nice little 3 month vacation, and they didn't care if I was getting naked in front of strangers, having my ass cheek spread, looking up my asshole for cigarettes and stuff. They didn't care if every time I got visited I had to get naked. They didn't care if some evil woman held me to the ground and gave me a double dose of so many medications that my heart was beating very weird. I had a severe headache for days, felt sick to my stomach, and on top of this, I'm drooling and can't talk. Don't forget, I have a neurological disorder that still isn't being treated. The doctors are seeing me twitch, and they say, hey, what are those ticks and twitches? Uh, it just happens. I've been talking about that for years. I've had this twitching for years. Oh, it could be a side effect of the medications. No, it wasn't. They still happen today. The 25 years of shakes, coordination issues, doctors. I mean, see, the problem is Lowell Treatment Center, my mother and father didn't want to tell the truth. So, what would happen if my mother and father came clean with what they know about Westford, what they know about the overdose, if we went around trying to get those doctors' records, if we actually had people supporting the truth instead of a fantasy and a made up lie? Yes, my father likes to lie and make up fantasies that a dead woman that literally everybody knows was lies. It's very clear to anybody who has half a brain that she was full of shit, The teachers knew she was crazy. The doctors knew she was crazy. Her sons knew she was crazy. Her daughter knew she was crazy. Her grandson was afraid to visit because she was crazy. Everybody's telling Dad, please stop letting that person hurt that child. Please stop letting that person hurt that child. And they know what my father says, it's a fantasy, it's a lie, it's your problem, no, it's his problem, it's his problem, it's the teacher's problem, it's that problem. But everybody has a problem but my mother. Even when she's popping Vicodin from her son's prescription that he still needs, even when she's stealing Xanax, even when she's acting unstable, even when she's beating her son with a ruler for no reason just to intimidate the nephew, or her grandson, that way her grandson will go home and tell Tim that she's beating Zach with a ruler. I mean, all this crazy stuff, giving him overdoses, giving him extra medication as punishments, sneaking pills of her own into cookies and medicine, giving him pills on Halloween so she'll get her way, making her son sick, all this type of stuff. So what would I do if my father actually came clean and worked with me? Well, first of all, he needs to have a discussion about what the truth is. He needs to really understand that this is a big fucking problem, and I am not going to die and be in pain in the middle of the woods and have the rest of my life affected because of his choices. I cleaned up my mess. I make the good choices now. I'm sober. I try to do my best. But the things I need to do is I need to work on Social Security. I need to get my health together, and I need to go to work. But I've been doing that with the doctors, with Social Security, with departments for years. And every single time my father's and mother's lies, 15 years in lies, get in the way. And I can't drive due to my disability. I can't use a shelter due to my disability. I can't walk at all in the cold without having a seizure due to my disability. I shake constantly. People have been seeing this for 25 years of me. Teachers asked me about this at age 7. Doctors asked me about it at age 7. People were asking me my entire life. But every time they asked my mother any questions about this,